Hey, Isaac, how are you?
Good, you?
I'm good. Hold on, camera's coming on. There we go.
Thank
How
you
we
for
doing?
sitting down with me.
Yeah, dude, of course. Thanks for reaching out.
Yeah, I know it's been a solid like 12 hours, but how's the break?
Yeah, just getting started, right? Yeah, good. Packed a lot of stuff into my morning for a Monday morning, which is a nice change of pace. And now we got a couple of days off so we can watch some All-Star stuff.
That's awesome. My dad travels for work and he just ended up getting a trip in Philly. He's going to the Derby and the All-Star game.
Wow, that's great. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Who do you think will
Fantastic.
win the Derby?
So I think Kyle Schwarber is gonna hit the longest home run and maybe the most home runs. But I'm actually picking Junior Caminero to win the home run derby.
He's sneaky good this year.
Yeah, I mean, not even really sneaky anymore, right? When you
Yeah.
homer, what was it, 11 times in 10 days or whatever it is? And unfortunately, three of them were against the Diamondbacks. I mean, he really left an impression on me. Now, there's a big difference between hitting home runs in game and hitting home runs in a derby, which I think kind of lends itself to Kyle Schwarber and his swing. But Caminero is the real deal, man. 22
Yeah.
year old who's going to hit 40 home runs back to back years. That's nuts.
I think it's gonna be Harper and Schwarber in the finale.
That'd be really cool, especially
Yeah.
with the narrative around Philadelphia, and that would be cool for their fans for sure, and cool for baseball, I think.
Yeah. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we have an interview with the one, the only, the pregame host of the Diamondbacks, Steve Zinsmeister. Thank you for sitting down with me, Steve.
What's up, Isaac? Good to talk to you, man.
You too. So I think we both have players to send my way. Do you want me to start or do you want to start?
You go ahead and hit me.
All right. So I started out with an easy one. This pitcher, he has an ERA of 2.29 in 114 innings pitched.
114 innings would be the most on the team, so that would be Eduardo Rodriguez.
Yep.
Yeah, that one. The giveaway is the over 100 innings. I don't know if anybody else has gotten over 100. Zach Gallen's pretty darn close, but yeah, that's the giveaway. And of course, if you had said starting pitcher with an ERA that low, then he would have been the only logical answer.
He's having an incredible year, one of the two All-Stars.
Yeah, fantastic year. I just talked with him last week. I talked with him the day that he found out that he was going to be an all-star, which was a really cool feeling for a guy who's accomplished pretty much everything in his
Yeah.
career, right? He's won a World Series. He won the WBC this year. He's pitched on opening day. He's signed big contracts before, but he's never been an all-star. And so I think it's going to be really cool when he takes the mound on Tuesday.
Yeah. You want to send a player my way?
Yeah, I've got some stats here for you. I've got three, and then I've got a bonus fourth question if you're interested.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start with number one. One of the Diamondbacks position players has the highest batting average of any player in the league at his position with at least 100 plate appearances. Who is that player?
Gabby Moreno, and I think he's hitting 301.
It's the obvious answer, right? It's Gabby Moreno. He's hitting right around 300. I was a little bit surprised to see this statistic across Major League Baseball because Gabby's obviously known for his glove, for his arm, for what he provides defensively. But this year, he's been probably the most consistent offensive player in the entire Diamondbacks lineup.
It's been like you said, he's always been a glove first guy with a decent bat, but recently he's just been like Gabby Lane's been wide open and he's been shooting balls right through there.
Yeah, definitely. I think I probably gave you a little bit too easy of a question there on the first one.
Yeah, I heard it on the radio or on the broadcast yesterday.
Well, there you go.
This pitcher has a 4.41 ERA and 15.1 innings pitched.
15 innings?
He's been up and down through the minors.
Is this a starter or reliever?
A reliever.
15 innings, up and down reliever. 15 innings would be more than like an Andrew Hoffman or a Philip Abner.
He's been like with the team for a while, but injuries have kind of derailed it.
Well, would that be Dre Jameson?
Yeah,
Okay. Healthy this year, which is great, right? But yeah, that's a guy that came up in 2022, I think it was,
something around
and
there.
was actually a part of the roster when they went to the World
Mhm.
Series, a number of years ago, but hasn't really been able to contribute consistently since 2022. So yeah, Dre Jameson, awesome to see him out on the mound these days.
I love watching him pitch. He throws gas.
Yeah, and he's dialed it back just a little bit. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's in order to, to keep his health. But I think that he's also learning how to pitch, which is really helping his development and growth. And he's in a bullpen with guys. I think there's 6 guys back there who have ERAs under 3 right now. So, and a lot of experience as well. He's the youngest member, if I'm remembering correctly, of this
Yeah.
bullpen. So, a lot that he can learn and garner from those guys too.
The bullpen has not been the issue this year.
No, definitely not. All right, I'll hit you with my second one, right? One of the Diamondbacks position players is the greatest player ever from his home country. In fact, he has over 100 more home runs than any other player in history from his country. Who is that player?
A position player?
Correct.
Um, this might be a shot, but Vargas,
No, Ildemar Vargas is not the correct answer here.
infield or outfield?
Outfielder.
So Corbin Carroll. What country do you know?
Yeah, I do know the country. It might give it away.
Is he currently healthy?
He is.
Barossa?
No, no. Keep in mind, this person would have to have over 100 home runs in their career.
Wow. Now I'm drawing a blank on all of our outfield. So we have Corbin out there. Oh, is it Lourdes?
Nope.
Really? You might have to give me this one. This is tough.
He has 180 career home runs. Max Kepler was
From
born and
Germany.
raised in Germany
I should have known that.
and has the most home runs of any player in the history of Major League Baseball from the country of Germany. So, yeah, I think you could make a pretty strong case that he is the best German-born player in the history of the game.
He's been like real good since we signed him.
Yeah, definitely hitting the ball hard. I don't know that enough of those hits have landed for him to feel great about it, but he got his first home run as a Diamondback, which was
Yeah,
a 3-run homer that was huge in that
wide
moment. And
open.
yeah, he's going to play a big role moving forward. They definitely need left-handed bats, and his is the first of what I assume will be a couple of shots in the dark, or however you want to word it, lottery tickets, to see what kind of guys can contribute moving forward.
Yeah. So my last player for you, it's very tough. He has a 94.50 ERA and point 0.2 innings pitched.
Point 0.2 innings pitched.
He's no longer on the team.
What is the ERA again?
94.50.
Yikes. Who had the worst go at it? It's not Joe Ross.
No.
Point 0.2 innings pitched,
Yeah.
less than an inning. So it's not James McCann.
That would be a good. I should have done that.
Adrian Del Castillo has a 0 ERA, I believe, so it can't be him. Is it a position player or is it a starter or a pitcher?
It's a starter.
It's a starter. Ooh, you
He
really
got
got me here.
he got released and then picked up by a team on the AL Central.
Taylor Rashi?
Nope. You want me to give it to you?
Yeah, give me this one.
Yilber Diaz.
Gilbert Diaz. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he had a rough go at it. Didn't really get much of a runway, as you pointed out, but
Yeah.
he was electric when he first came up. He was pretty wild as a starter. This year he was a reliever when they brought him up. And so he didn't get a lot of time, but I was hoping things would work out for him. Hopefully they do elsewhere.
Yeah, he was quite good when he got that first cup of coffee 2025.
I think he came up did he come up in 24? I'm trying to remember. I feel like he came up in 24 and 25.
Unless I'm wrong, I think it was just 25 because they had that whole video on their social media about his journey to the big leagues, but I could be
Yeah.
wrong.
I want to say he came up in 24 and did fairly well in a start. And then he had a rough go in 25. And then, as you pointed out, a short but not great outing for the Diamondbacks here this year. So yeah, I wish him well. I think that's a really exciting young arm. He's got a lot of velocity, that's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of guys pump it now.
Yeah. All right, my third question. Ready?
Yep.
This Diamondbacks position player has the highest foot speed on the team and fifth highest in the game of baseball. Who is that position player?
Is it Corbin Carroll?
It is not Corbin Carroll.
Oh, is it Barossa?
It is not Jorge Barrosa.
Are they still on the team?
They sure are.
I was gonna say Alec, but is it Lawler?
No, it's not Jordan Lawler. He's pretty fast, though. I'll tell you that much.
You said in the outfield?
He is an outfielder.
So Corbin, no. Thomas is gone. Um, Barossa. It's not Lourdes, is it? No shot,
No,
right?
no, it's not Lourdes.
So you said kind of outfield. Is it his primary position?
It is.
Um, has he been up with the team a lot this year?
He's been up for, yeah, probably a month.
Oh, is it Tommy Troy?
It's Tommy Troy, 30.1 feet per second. He has the highest foot speed on the team, even higher than Corbin Carroll.
Dude, like we could get into it later if you want, but the Diamondbacks are so good at drafting these dirtbag players that just go out and play hard and just go out and play for each other.
Yeah, there's a certain brand of player they like to
Yeah.
draft, and uh, especially early in the first round, the last couple of years, where they go and get guys that have a lot of athleticism. That's what their highest priority is, and then being able to make contact with the ball and develop the power later on. So Tommy Troy fits that bill. Corbin Carroll, Slade Caldwell is another name to know.
Even their
Jake,
sorry,
say
go
again.
ahead. Their first round draft pick this year, they did that with the catcher though.
Ryder Helfrich, a little
Yeah.
bit different. I mean, not a speedster, obviously, as a backstop, but more of a defensive minded guy with a lot of power. So it is a bit of a diversion this year from what they've done in the past. Guys like Drew Jones and JD Dix and Tommy Troy and others. But yeah, they love their athleticism, man.
Yeah. So you said you have a bonus question for me. Do you want to send that my way, please?
Yeah, this one's a hard one. All right. The Diamondbacks have had a bit of a game of musical chairs at first base this season. There have been 9 players who have played first base for the Diamondbacks. Can you name them?
All right, we'll start Tim Talla, Ildomar Vargas, Pavin Smith, um, Carlos Santana. Did did Lawler ever play? No. Um, did Adrian Del Castillo ever get down there?
He did.
So is that five or six that I named? You know?
You've got 5, you've got 4 left.
Wow. Um, Lou James Gruber.
Yep, 3 left.
Um, did McCann ever get down there?
James McCann did play first base a couple of times. 2 left. See if you can get there.
Marte, no, right?
No, no, Marte's not played first base. Although one of the guys on this list is the second most innings at first base this season, right behind Ildemaro Vargas.
Really? Um, I said Pavin Smith, right? I'm not forgetting him.
You did say Pavin Smith, yeah.
Is he still on the team?
He is not. In fact, neither of the 2 players that you have not named, neither of them are on the team currently.
Do you know if they've been picked up by chance?
The one who's at the top of this list is still in the system. He is in Reno right now. The other one, I'm not so sure. He did not play very much for the Diamondbacks.
Lockley hasn't been up, right?
Nope, Locklear has not been up this year.
You might have to give this to me. This is good.
The second most innings at first base this season was Jose Fernandez,
Oh,
who
I was
got
thinking,
called up, what, a couple days into the season, and he's been
yeah.
down now for a little while. And then the other one that I think most people forget about is Lucan Baker, who came up for a very short period of time and did get into a couple of games at first base.
I forgot about Fernandez. I feel like he's more of a third baseman, but he did play down there.
Yeah, he's definitely a left side of the infield guy, but they were looking for options at first base, and he's more than capable of it. So yeah,
Yeah.
he's played the second most innings at first base this year, and Pavin Smith is third, and he's no longer with the team. Lou James Groover was sent down, Fernandez was sent down, Santana's not around anymore. So uh, Fernandez might stick at that second spot for at least a little while.
I'm sure you saw it on the ESPN game. They showed up a stat that the Diamondbacks first base position has had like the lowest OPS since 1920.
Yeah, they've been looking for production at that spot, right? And
Yeah.
not just at the trade deadline, but looking for somebody internally to step up. And, over the weekend, I'm sure you were watching the Dodgers series,
Oh yeah.
Isaac, and Tim Tawa asserted himself in that series. I think he had four extra base hits, two home runs, drove in seven, I think it was. I think he was 7 for 13. It was like he owned Dodger Stadium for the weekend.
It was
It was
like
a really cool thing to watch for sure.
it was like a way cheaper Christian Walker.
Yeah, kind of felt that way, didn't it? But
Yeah.
I'm excited for Tim too because, they're going to give him a little bit of a runway. And I don't know what's going to happen over the next few weeks with the trade deadline coming up. Maybe they go and add a bat at that position. They certainly need left-handed bats, but if Tim is going to go off like that against the Dodgers, maybe he deserves a little bit more playing time at that position.
Yep. All right, so now we're gonna go position by position and just talk about who's been there and what kind of offense, production, and defensive. So starting with first base, again they had Pavin Smith, who they unfortunately cut. He kind of struggled this year after that elbow surgery. One homer or OPS of 428, and then they also had Carlos Santana, who honestly really struggled, 279. But he always has the best defense at first. Do you think at the trade deadline they go and get someone, or with what Tim Tall is doing, do they just leave him down there?
I think regardless of how they play over the next couple of weeks right out of the All-Star break, I think the Diamondbacks would be smart to add a left-handed bat and probably somebody who can play first base. They're just trying a lot of things over at that
Yeah.
spot right now. I think that's indicative of the decision they made with Pavin Smith. I think Tim Tawa is getting the run there now because of their desperation at the position, and he's more than capable with the glove. He's kind of in a platoon right now with Ildemaro Vargas. Vargas is probably going to play against left-handed pitchers because he's so good at hitting against them. And then Tawa, even though he's a right-handed bat, he's going to face right-handed pitchers. So that's the plan for right now until they make a roster move or a trade of some sort. I think that those guys are going to hold down the fort until that happens. And maybe that bat comes in and is more of a designated hitter. Maybe they're more of a first baseman. I don't know, but I think that the plan at first base is the most likely position to change in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Cool. So, do you think, like you just mentioned, Tim Tall had the an insane series against the Dodgers? He went bonkers. But do you think if instead of going the trade route, they call up a prospect like Tyler Lockley or Miguel Pena?
I don't know what the plan is there. Locklear obviously has been in the big leagues before, both with the Diamondbacks, and I think he made his debut with the Mariners just before he got traded. He's certainly been popping off lately, hitting a lot of home
Yeah.
runs in Reno, which is certainly a different level. The pitching is not nearly as good as the big leagues, and the air is thin. So we know how often hitters go off in the PCL. Pena is interesting. Manuel Pena has the at one point in time he had the most home runs in all of professional baseball. I don't know if that statistic holds
He's
true
second
today.
now.
Yeah, he's got crazy pop, but he also started the year having not played above high A. He started the year in double A. They moved him to triple A because he clearly just was too good for double A. And I think he's a good player. He's still very, very young. Maybe they do decide to go down that route. But I think that all depends on what they choose to do at the trade deadline over the next couple of weeks. If they add a bat at his position, does that make it less likely that he shows up in the big leagues? He still has a lot to learn. There's no doubt about that. But I think that they're going to be weighing all options when it comes to first base.
Cool. And then on to second, they have Ketel Marte, who he's really turned it on as of late, but he struggled to start. We'll get into it with Perdomo too, but do you think the WBC kind of hurt the guys in a way for the first couple of weeks of the season? Because Perdomo and Ketel started really slow.
Well, I could make the opposite argument for Eduardo Rodriguez, a guy
Yeah.
who kind of parlayed his successes in the WBC into an all-star caliber season. No, I don't think the WBC had too much of an impact on those individuals. When it comes to Cattell, I mean, he's still very, very good defensively. He's made that a point this season that he
Yeah.
wants to win a Gold Glove. I think the bat is still there. He's been fairly unfortunate, especially early in the season. He was hitting the ball hard and it just wasn't falling. So I don't know. There's some stretches where he's the hottest hitter in baseball, and then there's
Yeah.
times where he goes cold for a bit, like these last couple of games in LA, where we didn't get a lot of production from any of the big three, from Marte, Carroll, or Perdomo. I think they were 2 for 36 in
Yeah.
LA this weekend, which is a testament to the rest of the team for being able to sweep the Dodgers regardless. But then when it comes to Jerry, I think that last year we got a glimpse of what he can be, which is a top level shortstop
Yeah.
offensively as well as defensively. His defense is still really good this year, maybe even better than it's been in the past. But offensively, I do wonder at times if he's trying to be the guy that he was last year and is just kind of pressing in that department. I think he looks at a guy like Marte, who he looks up to and is very close with, and his best friend is Jose Ramirez with the Guardians. And he
Yeah.
sees these two guys who I think he thinks he can be them in terms of what they do offensively. And I believe that he can be that as well.
Surely
It's
last
just a
year.
matter of consistency. And this year he hasn't found it, but I'm still hopeful that he can. He's still one of the best when it comes to understanding the strike zone and drawing walks and drawing pitches from pitchers. So I think he's great at what he does already. But once he starts to put it all together like he did last year, he's dangerous.
And the thing with Perdomo, like you're never gonna get just a below average bat. It's always above average, if not MVP level. But he has that Gold Glove defense.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot better defensively. He leads this team in defensive metrics of all kinds. He made a phenomenal play in the sixth inning
Yeah.
yesterday, right behind the mound. I think he's, for a guy who doesn't have like the foot speed of a Bobby Witt Jr. or the range of some of those guys or the arm talent of some of those guys, he's as solid as they come defensively. He just makes all the little plays with ease, and then the hard ones more often than not, he's making those as well.
And then I don't even want to ask this with Cattell because he's having fun. They're winning baseball, and the Diamondbacks shut those down a long time ago. But there was a report, I think it was yesterday, about the Rays being interested in Cattell. Um, do you think Cattell is going to stay here for the rest of his career?
Well, rest of his career is hard to tell, right? I mean, this is a guy who's in his early 30s. He probably has a lot of baseball ahead of him. So
Yeah.
I never want to assume anything when it comes to stuff like that. I would have told you Paul Goldschmidt would
Yeah.
have been a Diamondback for his entire career, and obviously that didn't end up happening. So I'll never say never on any of that stuff. But man, do I hope that he stays as long as he wants. And right now he's got 10-5 rights, which means he can decline any trade offer that he wants,
Yeah.
which was also a part of that report you mentioned from Bob Nightingale. He also said, as much as the Rays may want him, Cattell has no plans to leave, at least according to Bob's reporting, and that he plans on being a Diamondback as long as possible. He's signed into the 2030s, I think it
A
is.
long
So
time.
he's going to be here a long time. And as of this year, he's starting to climb some of those milestone rankings. I think he's second now in games played and
Set.
and hits and all
Yeah.
these things. And in the next couple of years, Isaac, we're going to be talking about Cattell in the same conversation as Luis Gonzalez and as Paul Goldschmidt.
And Cattell, like, not saying he wasn't having fun before, but if you look at him just play recently, his demeanor is like so much higher. He's stealing bases now. Like, Cattell's been phenomenal this year.
Yeah, I think part of that surprises me. He had a two stolen base game a couple of
Yeah.
weeks ago that was like the first one he's had since 2016 or something like that, which is absurd. It's been a decade since he's done that. And I think that there is a newfound energy. I think you're right about that. This team loves each other for what it's worth. I think a big part of that, honestly, is Ildemaro Vargas.
Yeah.
I think he brings this crazy energy to the team. He and Cattell are close. Cattell and Geraldo Perdomo are close. Vargas and Perdomo are close. Everyone feels really connected on this team, which is really cool, especially in the infield. And I'm hopeful that that's given Cattell a little bit of extra juice when it comes to the stolen bases and hopefully gets that offensive production up there to match.
Yeah, that was my next player, Vargas. Like, he started out as, I think it was a 27 game hit streak and 20 or 30 dating back to last year, something like that. He just went bonkers the first 2 months of the season.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It was one of the highlights of the entire year so far is
Yeah.
what he was able to do in the first month of the season. at a time when, he came into spring camp as kind of a flyer. We'll see if he makes the roster, and then he did. And he was a backup shortstop. But like, how often are you going to play as a backup shortstop behind Geraldo Perdomo, who plays every day? And then all of a sudden they have an opening at first base because of reasons you pointed out to Santana and Smith, their injuries. So all of a sudden, Vargas is playing out of position, playing really well with the glove, by the way. They're really impressed with him defensively. And even though the bat has cooled significantly, he still comes up in clutch situations. He had a couple of key extra base hits in this series in LA. And like I mentioned, he's just one of the most fun-loving guys you're going to meet. And a lot of these other players, especially the star players in the infield, are really close friends with him. And so I think that has really brought a familiar feeling back to this team. As Vargas has been here in the past, the organization clearly values him and loves him for what he is, and they have a really good understanding of what he brings to this ball club.
For sure. Now onto third base. I mean, you have Nolan Arenado, who he made a play yesterday against the Dodgers to end an inning. He's been nothing short of phenomenal on defense. And then his bat, it's getting going. He has 12 homers, 40 RBIs, and a 730 OPS.
Yeah, that play he made yesterday was in the same sixth inning that Perdomo's play was in.
Yeah.
There were three really good players in that inning, actually. But yeah, Arenado doing exactly what the Diamondbacks brought him here to do, which is play solid defense. He's not the platinum gold glover he once was. His arm is not a rocket like it once was, but he's making every type of play to his left, to his right when charging. The throws are accurate. I think he's been fantastic in terms of defense, which was expected. Offensively, he's not going to get back to the levels that he had when he was in
No.
his prime in Colorado, but I do think that he's brought it on a little bit lately, and hopefully he can provide a bit of a boost to that lower part of the order, which, really delivered in this LA series and at the tail end of the San Diego series as well. When they get going 4 or 5 through 9, then they're really dangerous because you know what they're capable of getting from 1, 2, and 3, Marte,
Yeah.
Perdomo, and Carroll.
It was like the whole season, Marte, Perdomo, and Kira, whatever order they were in, they were raking, hitting the covers off baseballs, and then 5 through 6, they couldn't get, or 5 through 9, they couldn't get runners in. And then this last weekend, it worked out because they swept the best team in baseball, but like 5 through 9 was carrying, and 1, 2, and 3 were struggling.
Yeah, and you get contributions from different places, right? We already talked
Yeah,
about Tim Tawa's electric series. James McCann had a 2 homer game. His only home runs of the season came in the same game. Gabby Moreno gets on base multiple times, seemingly every night. They got contributions all over the lineup. They had 3 different guys play center field because of the injuries that they sustained. Fortunately, none of them seemed to be long term. So, yeah, I agree with you, man. When they put it together 4 through 9, this is a really dangerous lineup.
yeah. So were you in the around the team in the LA series by chance?
I was not in LA, no.
Do you like know what's going on with Troy? Because he banged into that wall, and then I heard he's getting an MRI.
Yeah, that's basically all we know at this point. He banged into the wall. They called it a shoulder contusion, which is just a bruise, right?
Yeah,
But he said it didn't feel good in the moment, of course, but they
yeah.
tested it out the next day. Ryan Waldschmidt, fortunately, was feeling better. He
After
got hit on
getting
the
hit.
thumb the night
Yeah.
before. So he took the job of center field that day. Troy sat down on the bench. They basically said, we're not planning on testing him anymore unless something starts to hurt. And I think that's probably what ended up happening is he was still feeling something in that shoulder. Now they're going to look at it again. I don't anticipate we're going to get an update on that until we get back around the team. Probably on Thursday, they have a voluntary workout. And then Friday, they'll play their first game. So we'll probably know more later in the week.
Cool. And then on to catcher. I mean, you have Gabby Moreno, who, like you said, highest average out of all major league catchers at 301. Uh, James McCann just had a 2-run homer game, one off Yamamoto. And then Adrian Del Castillo, who was hot after returning from injury and then cooled down and is back in AAA.
Yeah. And Del Castillo, I don't know if you've seen, but he's hit some monster home runs
Yep.
since he went down, which was just a couple of days ago. The big thing here, obviously, is Gabby and what he's been able to contribute both offensively and defensively. When he's healthy, he is one of the best catchers in the game of baseball. There's no doubt about it. And this year, he's taken on more responsibility in the lineup. He is essentially their cleanup hitter right now. And maybe not your traditional cleanup hitter who's going to hit a bunch of home runs, but he's going to punch the ball into right field almost every time. And Isaac, it amazes me still that teams don't realize that he is
Yeah,
going to hit it in a specific spot because as much as we may know it, they still can't stop it. And so he's incredible. I think the addition or the re-addition of James McCann is bigger than some people realize. This is a guy that when they brought him in mid-season last year, things really turned around for the Diamondbacks. Whether it was Zach Gallen and Eduardo Rodriguez turning things around on the mound, I think James played a role in that. Whether it was helping to develop some of the young pitchers with an experienced veteran catcher who's seen a lot of things in his career. I think bringing James back into the fold is massive. And clearly he can still hit too, right?
yeah,
Which is great to have from your backup catcher. Adrian Del Castillo, unfortunately, I don't think things clicked for him offensively. And, we know that he's been really grinding the last 2 years to get better defensively. I still think there's a lot left in that bat that they're going to explore here in the coming years and probably even at some point this season. We'll see because he's clearly a good enough hitter. And he hit that really important home run in the series against the Brewers, I think it was, where
yep,
they basically won the game because of him. So he's certainly got a lot more to offer, but right now you got to feel really good about Moreno and McCann.
yeah. Do you want to know a funny story about McCann? The day, maybe it was the day, the following day, but the day before he went on that rehab assignment, my family was flying back from San Diego because we had just been on a vacation there, and I was walking to our car, and I saw this like big catcher-looking guy with a bunch of bags. So then I was like, I think that's McCann, and then my dad was like, that's for sure McCann. So then I got a picture with him.
Interesting. That's awesome.
Yeah, I
Just
thought
ran
maybe,
into him.
yeah, it was real cool.
That is awesome. Yeah, I wonder what he was doing there specifically.
He was flying the next day to the rehab assignment.
Gotcha. So maybe just like a stop and mini vacation.
Probably, yeah.
I dig that. Yeah, he's got two little boys. I shouldn't say little. They're probably almost your age at this point. But yeah, they're fun to watch, man. And James is just the nicest guy and
Yeah.
he's been around for a really long time. He's seen so many incredible things. I love talking with him about some of the Hall of Fame caliber pitchers that he has caught during his career.
Yeah. So now onto the outfield, they have a bunch of guys. Like you said, Max Kepler, Lourdes, Lawler, Troy, who's really impressed, Barossa, who's very glove first, Ryan Waldschmidt. Um, what do you think they do? Do they go like Corbin Carroll's a lock for the outfield, and then it's a platoon between Barossa, Kepler, Waldschmidt, Troy, depending on who's on the mound?
Yeah, the one thing we know for sure is Corbin Carroll is going to be out there every day,
Yeah.
right? So right field is locked down permanently. In fact, we talked earlier about how 9 different guys have played first base. Actually, the fewest number of players that have played a position is right field, and that's 2. Corbin Carroll and Jorge Barossa has spelled him a couple of times in blowouts. So you've got that position locked down. As for the other 2, starting in left field, there is a bit of a right-left platoon happening right now. Max Kepler's going to face right-handed pitchers, and Lourdes more often than not will face the lefties, and then potentially DH on days where they're facing righties as well. So they're both going to be out there, unless there was some addition to the roster, but I don't foresee that happening necessarily because you do have Tommy Troy, you do have Ryan Waldschmidt. Obviously, we'll see what's up with the shoulder with Troy, but if nothing is happening there, those 2 guys are going to man center field more often than not, with Barossa being the late game substitution for defense, in left field. They'll bump one of those guys over. So I think they're going to continue to do that. I think Waldschmidt's going to get some run in center field, which is great to see him back. He mashed when he went down to Reno. Hopefully he's made some adjustments there that he's going to apply to his time in the big leagues. And, history tells us that the second time a guy comes up is usually a little bit better than the first time.
Yeah. And then with Carroll, I'm not worried about it. He's an all-star. He's still having a great year, but he's stuck in a little bit of a slide. I think it was like 4 for 49 or something. I think the all-star game break is going to do wonders for him, being around great guys and just realize he's Corbin Carroll and go out and break.
Yeah, and I don't want to hit the panic button here, but I
Yeah.
think there are comparisons to be drawn between what's going on right now and what happened at the beginning of 2024 when Corbin struggled with the high and inside
Yeah.
fastballs. It's not that pitch that's really he's struggling with right now. It's the high and away fastballs now that all of a sudden have become much more prominent in pitching plans against him. And I think he's battling to try to figure that out. And the easiest thing for me to say is just, well, lay off that pitch and wait for a different one. Easier said than done. I think Corbin has shown over the years that he is the hardest working guy behind the scenes that the Diamondbacks have. The reason that we barely ever hear from Corbin Carroll before games is because he's never in the clubhouse. He's always in the cage working and trying to tweak things and improve. And so I have no doubt that he's going to turn things around. I hope you're right. I hope the All-Star break is kind of a reset for him. But he's going to go to Philadelphia. Hopefully, he'll get a chance to shine in the All-Star game the way he did last year when he
Yeah.
homered. And like you said, use this as a chance to kind of rest for a few days, get back into it on Thursday and Friday, and hopefully start to turn things around offensively.
So I have just a weird feeling this is gonna happen. I think it might have been last year. Do you remember right after the All-Star break when they played the Cardinals and they were going triple crazy with Corbin?
Yeah, I mean, I remember most about that series. They didn't have Cattell, and they went out. They swept that series, didn't they? Or
Yeah, they did.
yeah, I want to say they swept that one, and then unfortunately things kind of took a turn for the worse over the next 2 weeks.
I think that momentum off this Dodgers series, which we'll get into a little, and this Cardinals series, I think they're gonna sweep the Cardinals and just go bonkers from there.
That would be huge. I mean, as you know, the
Up in
Cardinals are one of the
two.
teams the Diamondbacks are competing with for a National League wild card this
Yeah,
year. They took 2 out of 3 in St. Louis. We got to do the makeup rain game
yeah,
coming up at the beginning of this next road trip. So you're going to get 3 games at home against the Cardinals. Then you're going to get the one on the road. So 4 important games here in the next
yeah.
week and a half to 2 weeks.
So now on to the starters. I mean, you have Erod, who's been incredible, an all-star. Mitch Bratt, who's been decent in a few starts. Merrill Kelly, he struggled at the start, but over his last two starts, he has 12 strikeouts and 12 innings pitched with 3 runs. Uh, the real one that they just put on the injury list has been Zach Gallen, who has really struggled. I think he's the highest ERA in baseball, unfortunately. And then Brandon Pfaadt, who they sent down, and then he fixed his mechanics. He's no longer over the head, and he's been great since.
Yeah, I think you feel pretty good about 60% of the rotation right now. You feel pretty
Yeah,
solid. And for me, that's Eduardo Rodriguez, who, as you mentioned earlier, is going to be an all-star. On Tuesday, he'll be pitching in Philadelphia. I think that all just kind of speaks for itself. The Diamondbacks always seem to win the game when he's on the mound. Brandon Pfaadt, you're right. He's made some great adjustments. I talked with him a little bit this past week about the over-the-head thing, and he said, I just went down to Reno and I was just looking to change something. No specific reason that he gave. He was like, I just wanted to tweak something, and that seemed to be the thing I could tweak. And it's worked out really well for him so far. And then the other one I feel really good about now is Merrill Kelly. Put 2 really solid starts back to back. And I think he's just regained a lot of his confidence, and he's going out there and just kind of slinging it. He's letting the ball go. He's not trying to aim. He's trying to throw while still being smart and still, obviously doing the things that make him effective, like changing speeds and locating. But I think he's just found a little bit more confidence in the past couple of weeks. And so, the 2 spots that you're a little bit worried about, Zach Gallen going on the IL, obviously that spot currently is held by Mitch Bratt.
yeah.
If he continues to pitch with the Diamondbacks, seeing his pitch count go up will be helpful so that he can get a little deeper into games. And then the other spot, I mean, Michael Soroka will not be returning to the rotation immediately following the break, the way that we thought he might have. So the Diamondbacks are going to have to figure out what they want to do with that 5th spot in the starting rotation the first time or two through. Whether that's bringing back Jose Cabrera or somebody else, they're going to have to figure out what they want to do with that spot.
Yeah. What's
All
up?
right.
Thank you so much for going extra always.
Yeah, man, no problem. Sorry, just setting you up. All right, here we go. All
All good.
set.
So we were just talking about Gallon struggles. Do you think it's like starting to get mental with him? Because this year has just not been pretty for him. And honestly, you got to feel for the guy. He's been a cornerstone player. He was a stud in 2023, the World Series. He carried us.
Well, right now, I mean, certainly health comes first and foremost.
Yeah.
He's feeling some inflammation in his elbow, and hopefully this IL stint can be as short as possible to get him back out there because, the only way you get through struggles like this is to pitch through it and to get back out on that horse and try again. So that's first and foremost on my mind. But as for what's caused some of the struggles, I mean, the pitches are the same. It's the same velocity he's always had. It's the same spin rate he's always had. So, what are the differences? Well, I mean, there could be some mechanical stuff, but for the most part, Gallon looks pretty much the same. So, I'm kind of left with fastball location. And I think that that's the foundation of everything that a pitcher does. Locating your fastball helps to determine the effectiveness of the rest of your arsenal. It affects the
Yeah,
knuckle curveball, which in the past has been his best pitch. And this year just hasn't been as effective. This year, the changeup, weirdly enough, has been the pitch that's been most successful for Gallon. And so I think that all those other pitches, whether it's the curveball, if he wants to throw the slider more, those things are more effective when you're effectively locating the four seam fastball. And so I think that's kind of where it all starts with Gallon. As for where he's at mentally, I mean, he had a tough season last year. There's no doubt about it.
injuries and stuff.
Certainly going into August. And then I think they got to the trade deadline and he saw a lot of his teammates getting traded and he did not. And he looked around the room and took it personally and said, I'm going to make myself a better pitcher. And those last 2 months were a lot better for Zach Gallen. And whatever he found there, I think he was hoping would carry over into this season. And clearly, things just snowballed away from him pretty early on. And I'm hopeful there's still time that he can figure this thing out because I think the Diamondbacks are committed to helping him do that. But we'll see how long this injury keeps him on the shelf. Hopefully, he can be back as soon as possible.
Yeah, we all wish the best for Gallon. He's been a stud
Yeah, I mean, he's going to go down as one of their top five pitchers in franchise history.
for sure.
Regardless of how this thing ends or if it continues. So I would love to see him kind of rejuvenate, I guess is the best word, at the end of this season and kind of end this thing with a better story than the way that it's been trending the past couple of months because he deserves it. He's going to be
Yeah.
remembered as one of the best Diamondbacks in the franchise's history.
And onto the bullpen, which up until spring or the start of the season was considered one of the weakest spots on this team. They've been probably the best spot. I mean, we mentioned earlier they got Dre Jameson, Ginkle, Thompson, even guys like Jonathan Loaizaga and Brandon Garcia had been great. And then Paul Sewald, who we all expected to be decent, but I don't think this good. He's sixth in MLB for saves.
And the one guy that's probably impressed me the most, you didn't even mention, is Taylor Clark,
Yeah,
who is a former Diamondback, came up through their system around the same time that Kevin Ginkle came up, by the way. And Clark, obviously a former starter, he ended up leaving the organization, finding success elsewhere, specifically in Kansas City the past couple of years, comes back in free agency and has been awesome. Really the epitome of what the new front office members, Jeremy Bleich in particular, the assistant GM, came in and he and I had a lot of talks in spring training about how the new mantra of the Diamondbacks pitching staff was going to be a relentless pursuit of the strike zone, an attempt
yeah,
to throw more strikes, regardless of what that means for the hitters. If they put the ball in play more, fine. We're going to be a better defensive team. If they swing and miss more, great. Then we're going to get more strikeouts. And they just want to generate strikes any way they can. And so bringing in a guy like Taylor Clark is perfect because he doesn't walk hitters. Paul Sewald has been that same way in the back end. I know that, the ERA might be a little bit higher than most closers, but like you mentioned, when it comes down to clutch moments, when it comes to save opportunities, I think he's 22 for 23 right now.
yeah.
He comes through almost every single time, and he's not going to walk guys. He's not going to put guys on base. And then the same has been true for Ginkle, Thompson, Loaizaga. They're all having the best years of their careers, and those are veteran guys. Loaizaga pitched in big games in New York. Ryan Thompson has pitched in the postseason. Same with Ginkle. And then you throw in, Brandon Garcia, who is just kind of emerging into the major leagues in the past
Yes.
year. And he's a big lefty who's kind of filled that role, that void that's been left by not having AJ Puck. Imagine if you had both of them at the same time, which is still the goal by the end of the season. So, yeah, you got to love what the Diamondbacks have in their bullpen right now. Every contending team looks for bullpen help at the trade deadline. Maybe they go and do that, but I do feel really good that they don't need to add, two or three arms. Maybe if they find one lefty, great. I could understand them trying to do that at the deadline. But this unit has been rock solid all season long.
And then it's unfortunately speaking of Puck, we're gonna go through the injuries. We don't have to go too much in depth of them, but we'll just quickly cover them. Like Andrew Saalfrank, he got hurt. Do you remember if it was in spring training when he got hurt with that shoulder injury?
I don't remember if it happened in spring or just before, but yeah, we found out pretty quickly that he was going to miss the full year.
Yeah, and then one of their top prospects who's shown progress in the first couple stints of his career, Christian Mena, has a teres major strain. Is that in your shoulder? I was trying to look at a diagram. I have no idea where that is.
Yeah, teres major is kind of an upper shoulder issue. He's had a kind of a handful of issues over the past
Yeah,
and setbacks over the past year. Because remember,
the
he got
rain.
hurt in early June, I think it was last year in that rain game in
Yeah.
Cincinnati, where Gabby also ended up getting hurt, and Mena hasn't been back on the major league mound since then. So certainly wishing him the best, and I think 2027 is going to be the next opportunity we get to see him pitch.
He has the stuff for sure.
Yeah,
And
he's a great pitcher. I hope that he gets that opportunity because they sure could use starting pitching.
yeah, and then Blake Walston, he's had Tommy John. Do you think it's possible we see him after the All-Star break?
I haven't heard an update on Walston recently, so I don't want to speculate on that. I talked to him in spring training very briefly, him and Tommy Henry as well.
I forgot about
Henry's been
him.
back with Reno, but I don't have an update on Walston, unfortunately.
And then Justin Martinez, do you think after All-Star break, maybe August, September?
Yeah, definitely. They expect him back at some point. His rehab, everything I've heard, has been very positive that the ball's coming out real good. The velocity is there. I think they said the first time he threw, he touched 99. I mean, that
Jeez.
just sounds like J Mart going full effort. But yeah, they're gonna be really careful with him because he's an electric arm and those can be kind of finicky.
Yeah,
But in terms of, the guys they were hoping to get back this year, his rehab has been probably the smoothest so far of the big three, with him, Puck, and Burns.
yeah.
And I think the goal has always been August, like late August for Martinez. I have not heard an updated timeline yet, but I would not be shocked if we see him in the next, month and a half.
I mean, maybe it's a month after, so it doesn't count, but like, if you want bullpen help at the deadline, that is the greatest bullpen acquisition you can probably get.
Yeah, it would be great, but keep in mind too, even though adding Puck and Martinez might be great for your roster, they might not be coming in the next 3 weeks. If you want to
Yeah.
make a move, you got to do it now if you're going to make a trade. And then at the same time, I also question, what is the level of production you're going to get out of pitchers who are coming off of such significant elbow or injuries and surgeries. Sometimes guys come back and they're not quite the same. It takes them a little while, and that's understandable, right? You're
Yeah.
reteaching your body to
How
do
to
something
throw.
that's not natural. I mean, throwing what is essentially a rock at 100 miles an hour is not something that your arm is supposed to do. So retraining it how to do that, obviously we should lower our expectations for those guys, but they're going to come out guns a blazing. J Mart wants to come in and be an impact pitcher in high leverage situations right away, and they might give him the leash to do that.
And then Jordan Lawler, he's been hurt 3 times. He broke his wrist, right hamstring. I think I heard on the broadcast that he's in MRI scheduled on the 17th.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the MRI. He might be one of those guys that was in that mix. You might be right about that, but I haven't heard an official timeline on him to return yet. They've been trying to keep him as involved as possible in the cage so that he's ready to hit when he does get the clearance to get back on the field. If I know Jordan, he's working as hard as anybody to get back. I mean, he hates that he's missed so much time early in his career with injuries. He's electric when he's out there. I think I was just talking with a friend yesterday. I think it's he has the sixth highest wins above replacement on this team.
Wow.
And to your point, he hasn't played a whole lot.
Nope.
So I think that speaks to the impact that he was able to make with the bat. I think he hit over 300 in his time with the Diamondbacks, as limited as it may be. I think he's got like 44 plate appearances. So it's not a big sample size, but he did play really well when he was up. He brings a certain level of athleticism to the outfield, which is something that has grown this year, with Waldschmidt, with Troy, with Lawler back out there, and obviously Corbin Carroll and Jorge Barossa. There's a lot of athleticism in that mix. And so I hope to see Lawler as soon as possible, but I wouldn't be surprised if they push that, a couple of weeks after the All-Star break.
And then Corbin Burns, he was gonna go down to the ACL and pitch, and then he tore his teres major strain. Do you have an update on Corbin by chance?
He's been throwing a little bit. He
Oh,
got
has
back
he?
into his he got back into his throwing program a couple of days ago. The first update we heard is that things went pretty well there, so no major issues. The tough part with all of this is that it's an elbow injury followed by a shoulder injury, so it's all
Yeah.
arm related. So he is gonna unfortunately have to build back up pretty significantly, and usually what they tell you with elbows is, you know, as long as you're down, that's how long you're going to have to build back up as well, basically double that time. But I know that he's pushing as hard as he can to get back this season, meaning that I think definitely sometime in September, I think we're going to see Corbin Burns at some point.
Nice.
Maybe there's a chance that that bleeds into late August, but I think they want to be super careful because this is one of the best pitchers in baseball when he's healthy, and they want to make sure that they don't rush anybody back this year.
Do you think it's possible, once he's gone through his throwing program, he goes down to the ACL again?
He's probably going to need some rehab starts. There's no doubt about that. I don't know if the complex league will be going on at that time, or if they're going to use an affiliate like Reno or maybe even Double A Amarillo. I don't know what that plan looks like yet. I think we're still a ways away from determining that. But he's going to definitely want to play in some games for sure before they throw him out there on the big league mound.
Yeah, it's been real cool. Me and my best friend, he's a huge Diamondbacks fan with me. We've gone down to the ACL and we've seen Puck. We've met him there and Lourdes.
Yeah, I mean it's great. It's a great environment where, you know, there's not like a ton of fans or anything.
There's
It's
no
pretty
one there.
it's pretty low key, and you know, you get a
Yeah,
star player there every now and then rehabbing, and that's a great opportunity to meet some Diamondbacks.
yep. And then Ryan Nelson, who has a UCL sprain, unfortunately, in his elbow. I think he was also one of those guys who scheduled an MRI for the 17th.
Yeah, and they're going to get a closer look at him. I think it's kind of a similar thing with him and Burns. You know, they both want to be back before the end of the season, certainly. Maybe there's a chance we see Nelly in September. I think that that would be a huge boost to their rotation right at the end of the season. To get both of those guys back would be massive. But like I mentioned earlier, you know, the Diamondbacks, they don't want to rush anybody. They've clearly got a lot of injuries on their hands this season that they're trying to delicately balance the importance and the urgency of bringing them back, and balancing that with, you know, what's in their best interests as not only athletes but as people who are, you know, going through a rigorous rehab process.
Yeah. And AJ Puck, who has a capsule sprained shoulder, who was recovering from Tommy John. I think he again was one of those 5 or 6 guys who scheduled an MRI for the 17th.
Yeah, same sort of thing, same sort of story. I have no idea what the timeline looks like on Puck, but all of these guys are going to be rehabbing and trying to get back as soon as they possibly can. I mean, to your point about all of this, I mean, they could be getting two high leverage relievers and two big time starting pitchers. Well, three if you count Soroka. They
Yeah.
could be getting three starting pitchers back and two big relievers. I mean, there's a chance that, you know, regardless of what they do at the trade deadline, they could be getting some huge additions.
And then Michael Soroka, who kind of, I don't even know what to call it. It was like glute discomfort, it says on the MLB website. Do you have an update on him?
Yeah, he's been asymptomatic for a while now. He's gotten back to throwing as of this week. I think he's going to start his bullpen stuff either tomorrow or Wednesday, if I remember correctly. It is going to be a little bit later than they had first hoped. They were hoping he could get back in the rotation right after the All-Star break, and
Yeah.
it doesn't look like that's going to happen because if he's starting bullpens tomorrow or the next day, there's probably going to be a couple of those. I think he's going to face live hitters after that, just live at bats. And then he's going to go and join an affiliate or maybe the ACL to get some rehab games in as well. Whether that's one or multiple, I don't know. It would be really hard to fit all of that in before, you know, the next turn through the rotation. In fact, it would be impossible. So they're going to have to figure out what they want to do, whether it's a spot start for somebody else or a couple of starts. But it looks like he should be, you know, he's in the process of getting back into the big league rotation here in the next couple of weeks.
And then a player that really impressed me from returning from injury, Lourdes Guerrero Jr., who originally tore his ACL. It was like sometime August, I believe, last year, and then he returned April 18th, which is less than 8 months after an injury that normally takes a year.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Everyone I
Yeah.
talked to behind the scenes was stunned with his progress in terms of the knee injury. Then I guess was it a hamstring that kept him out for a little bit of
Yeah.
time? So two lower body injuries that you're at least, you know, trying to be cognizant of while you're playing him out there. That's part of the reason that, you know, they went with a platoon in left field, and we've seen Max Kepler get some run there lately. We've seen Tommy Troy and Ryan Waldschmidt out there at times. Jorge Barrosa has slid over there at a couple of times. They're trying to keep Lourdes as fresh as possible because he does have some lower body injuries and he's not the fleetest of foot out there to begin with. And so I think they're
Yeah.
just trying to keep him healthy. give him some DH days. The bat can still obviously be a contributor for this lineup. And so they're going to do whatever they can possible to keep him healthy.
And then it might have been Bob Nightingale again. He tweeted that the Phillies have some interest in him. With what we talked about earlier in the bunch of platoons, do you think it's possible we move on from Lourdes for some pitching or first base help?
I guess a lot of that depends on what the Diamondbacks' objectives are at the trade deadline. If you deem that you're a team that's going all in, maybe you don't want to sell off any of your pieces and you just want to make additions and make this team as powerful as you can. Obviously, money always plays a factor in decisions one way or another. And then, if you determine that you're a selling team, then obviously you have a couple of pieces that you might look to move. I don't know what that plan is. And honestly, I don't know that the front office has finalized that decision yet. You just won 3 games in a row against the best team in baseball. That
Yeah.
certainly helps your case. You're only 2.5 games out of a wild card right now. I think it's too early for me to be like, telling you that they should be sellers. I don't think that's the case. But we're going to find out over the next 2 weeks, right out of the break, when you face three teams that are in the wild card hunt. The Cardinals, you face 4 games we talked about.
Yep.
They're going to face the Pirates and they're going to face the Nationals, who are all kind of in that mix for the playoff hunt. And I think that'll help determine what happens. But as for what Bob wrote about Philadelphia and Lourdes, it doesn't surprise me because Philadelphia has been looking for a right-handed bat in the outfield all season. And honestly, I think a lot of the league is looking for right-handed bats this year. That seems to be a trend.
Yeah, and then now on to the major call-ups that have made impacts. We'll just talk about them all in one because they've been kind of the same. Lou James Groover, he started out real hot and then kind of cooled down. They sent him down. Ryan Waldschmidt started hot, cooled down, sent him down. Now he's back up. And then Tommy Troy, who's, if you look at his stats, it isn't pretty, but his what he's done on the field shows so much more than what his stats do, I think.
Yeah, just to kind of go in order, starting with Lou James Groover. Man, I really enjoyed talking with him when he was up. He's an incredible dude, and I think he's going to hit at the big league level. I really do, and I know that that didn't stand out the first time through, but I think he's going to be a major league caliber hitter at some point, and he'll be back probably even sometime this season, depending on what they choose to do at first base. Tommy Troy, the exit velocities are amazing to me for a guy who is kind of on the smaller side. Man, he packs a punch. And we
Yeah,
talked earlier about his speed. I mean, I think that he's just one of the most toolsy players that they have. And so his athleticism stands out. He can make any play in the outfield, which, ends up being the reason that he runs into the center field wall and potentially
fortunately.
injures that shoulder. But hopefully he's all good to go. And Ryan Waldschmidt has a lot of those same qualities that he has and that Carroll has. A really good understanding of the strike zone and good plate discipline. I think that's probably his biggest tool that has yet to really shine in the big leagues. I think once he starts laying off some of those pitches he's struggling with outside of the zone, Ryan's gonna really shine at the big league level, and I anticipate that that's gonna happen here in the near future.
Yeah, I love Ron Waldschmidt to death. He's been incredible, but I was a little like sad to see Alec Thomas go.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of a big shift early in the season, right? They gave Thomas some run in center. He's been their center fielder for the better part of 4 years. I talked with the general manager Mike Hazen in spring training. And I asked him who is going to be this year's version of last year's Geraldo Perdomo, meaning who's going to break out in a big way. And he said, well, I think that Alec Thomas has a really important year in front of him where we think he's going to break out. We think he's going to have a good season and he's going to play an important role. And unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. But I think their decision to move off of him kind of speaks to what Mike was getting at there, which was the importance of getting offensive production out of your outfield, and that's something the Diamondbacks have been kind of churning the roster a little bit, trying to find that with Waldschmidt, with Troy, with Lawler, with a couple of different names. And so, unfortunately, the exodus of Alec Thomas was kind of the necessary thing to get to that point where they could try some of these other guys.
Yeah, and then one guy I forgot to mention in that list, Jose Fernandez. I mean, real fast. He saved that game against the Tigers. I want to say it was his debut the day after where he hit that go-ahead home run off future Hall of Famer Kenley Jansen.
Yeah, 2 homers in your debut is a pretty great way to introduce
Yeah.
yourself as a Diamondback. He didn't carry that success consistently throughout his time in the big leagues. I think, obviously big league pitching, they made adjustments to him that he needed to adjust back to. and ended up getting sent back to the minors. There's no shame in that. I mean, this is a 22-year-old kid who
Mm.
was on almost nobody's radar before this season. I don't even think the Diamondbacks knew that they were going to be adding him to the mix so quickly. They had the foresight to add him to the 40-man roster in the offseason. And just with the injuries they had at first base, they kind of, broke glass in case of emergency. He'll be back. And I think that they view him as a left side of the infield guy, potentially the shortstop of the future, like way down the road. And I think that he can certainly fill a gap that they have in their infield. Maybe it's third base at some point down the road. But he's a very versatile guy. He's got tons of speed, like you said. He's got arm strength. He can hit for power. And I think if he develops that major league hitting approach, he's going to be just fine and he'll be back and contributing for the Diamondbacks.
I mean, like you said, Fernandez wasn't on anyone's radar, but I've been loving what the Diamondbacks are doing the minor league side. I mean, surely being sellers last year helped because Mitch Bratt just helped them win a game, but they've been building up that farm system so well lately.
And the most important thing is that they've added a lot of pitching in the last year. I think it's of the 10 top pitching prospects in their system, I think 7 or 8 of them are new to the system within
Yeah.
the last year. And that doesn't even include the guys they just drafted this past weekend, who I have yet to kind of dig deep on. But, they've added a ton of guys throughout all levels of the system, especially the lower levels, whether it was drafted guys like, Dean Livingston, Brian Curley. I'm probably going to forget a lot of guys. Patrick Forbes. They traded for a couple of names like Wellington Aracena is one they got in the Blaze Alexander deal that I really love, and that they really love, which is
Big
great.
Stroud.
They added a ton of guys. Cade Stroud in the relief department. They added a bunch of guys in the trade deadline. 3 of them from the Texas Rangers,
Yeah.
including Mitch Bratt, who we've already seen. David Hageman's a good name. Cole Drake. I mean, I could go on and on. Ashton Izzy just got promoted to AAA this week. So there's a lot of good names in the pitching department that I think Diamondbacks fans are going to enjoy seeing over the next couple of years.
It's like almost like when Gallen came. We have a lot of young, controllable pitching, which I like.
Yeah, and it's something that frankly they admit they haven't done a great job of the past few years. I mean, really the last homegrown developed pitcher to emerge for the Diamondbacks was Brandon Pfaadt, and that was
Yeah.
2023, a number of years ago. And before that, Ryan Nelson and Dre Jameson, and Dre still some things yet to be discovered. But those 2 guys came on the scene 3 or 4 years ago, and they haven't really had anybody since. So now you've got Mitch Bratt kind of, hitting the scene. You've got Jose Cabrera, who showed really good mound presence in his first
Yeah.
couple outings. We'll see. The Diamondbacks are looking to add pitching any way that they can, and hopefully they've added some real impact arms.
And then now onto the point where I've been most excited. We're gonna talk about the team like record and playoffs and if there'll be buyers or sellers in your opinion. So this team ended the first half with a record of 49 and 47, 2 games above 500. Last year they were 47 and 50, so 3 games under 500. They're 11 and a half back from Los Angeles. I don't think they're catching Los Angeles unless they go on some magical run. But they are 2.5 back from the wild card and they have games against the Pirates and the Cardinals who are ahead of them or right by them in the standings. So, is there like a certain number of games before the August 3rd deadline that they have to win, in your opinion? They go 3 against the Cardinals, 3 against the Athletics, 1 more against St. Louis because that rain delay, and then 3 against the Nationals and 3 against the Pirates.
I don't know that there's a specific number of games you have to win in the next couple of weeks, but to your point, 10 of their next 16 games before the deadline are against teams that are in the playoff mix.
Yeah,
And so those are obviously important ones to win against the Pirates, the Nats, the Cardinals, especially. But those other 2 series, they're not incredibly daunting. You've got Cleveland right before the deadline, and then you've got the Athletics right at the beginning of the
yeah.
second half of the season. So a really good opportunity for the Diamondbacks to add some wins to the win column here in the next few weeks. So that answers that. As far as where the line in the sand is, I don't know. I mean, I would advise you don't look at the division standings. They no longer matter for the most part, especially in the NL West. Look
Yeah.
at the wild card standings. Look at the teams that are around them because those are the ones they're going to be competing with at the end of the year. And there's a couple of things to note. Like right now, the Marlins being in that mix, they were one of the best teams in baseball over the last month and a half. That's a team that currently has the tiebreaker over the Diamondbacks because they swept them in Miami.
Yeah.
So that's something to look at. The Philadelphia Phillies, who were ice cold to begin the year and then turned things around, and now they're celebrating the All-Star break in their home ballpark. Are they going to continue to be hot and one of the better teams in the National League over the last couple months? Keep your eyes on the Chicago Cubs. Keep your eyes on those teams you mentioned the Diamondbacks are going to be playing. I'm hopeful that over the next 16 games, they can just do their regular thing of winning the series. Win 2 out of 3, and you'll be just fine. And that'll be a big statement that they've made. Combine that with what they just did in LA. They also split a series with the Padres within their division. So I think, if you just continue to win series, win 2 out of every 3, or in the Cardinals case, win 2 or 3 out of 4,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you're right in that conversation. And, even if the Diamondbacks don't deem that they're going all in, pushing all the chips to the middle of the table, I still think that they would be well advised to go and get a bat, left-handed bat in particular. That's something that with them DFAing Pavin Smith, they're kind of without right now. They don't have a bench lefty. And so that would be something I'd be interested to see if they go and add in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, especially like you said with the tiebreaker with the Marlins, those Pirates, Nationals, and Cardinals games are huge for the wild card.
Yeah, they're massive, and you get the Cardinals for 3 at home. The
Yeah.
Diamondbacks have been better at Chase Field than they have on the road, and they already took 2 out of 3 on the road from the Cardinals. So in order to be better than them and have the tiebreaker, you don't have to do too much. And then they do have to go play that one rainout game in St. Louis on their way to Washington D.C. So
Yeah.
that 3-city road trip unfortunately became a 4-city road trip. But it's just a quick stop in St. Louis, onto the nation's capital, finish things up with Pittsburgh and Cleveland right before the deadline.
Yeah. So like they're 2.5 out of a wild card, which is very doable. The team last year almost made a 10 game difference, which is a different team, but still. What is like one major thing in your opinion that has to happen that didn't happen in the first half for them to be in a wild card spot?
Compared to the first half, I mean, they have a sense of urgency right now that they tried to force at the beginning of the season. The narrative coming into this year was let's just hang around 500, let's be competitive as best we can until we get some of our big injured players back, Lourdes and the
Mhm.
pitchers Puck and Burns and all of
Yeah.
that. And the reason I never loved that narrative and I never subscribed to it myself is because it didn't allow for those players to have what was going to be likely setbacks, unfortunate setbacks, but likely. And that it didn't account for the fact that this Diamondbacks team could be good without them and that they're likely going to suffer other injuries along the way. Every team does every year. And so I didn't love that narrative coming out of spring, but this team tried to create that sense of urgency that now they're starting to find at the end of the first half. Really, what needs to happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks that didn't happen last year is remember right before the trade deadline, they went on the road and they went 1-9 in the last 10 games before the deadline. That is something that cannot happen. You can't go on a massive slide like that.
Yeah.
That would not be very convincing the way that sweeping the Dodgers was. So hopefully that momentum that they carried into the break, they can just hit the ground running on Friday against St. Louis, pick up as many wins as you can in those 6 games in the homestand against St. Louis and the Athletics, and then carry that into the road trip because that's going to be kind of your last stand for right before the deadline.
Yeah, like you just said, that Dodgers series, I mean, it was their first sweep against the Dodgers since 2017, besides 2023. They scored a bunch of runs. They capitalized on errors by the Dodgers. I mean, the best team in baseball looked totally unmatched, and it might just be just me that feels this way, but it kind of gives me a sense of hope for the rest of the season.
It was a chaotic series for the Dodgers.
Yeah,
6 errors in 3 games. They've made 9 errors in the last 5 games. So they were a little checked out, I think, early for the All-Star break. Shohei Ohtani gets scratched from pitching in
yeah,
game 1. That was a huge difference maker in that game, in my opinion. He was still hitting and hit a couple of bombs, but at the same time, like he didn't look like the typical
mhm.
Ohtani. And then, yeah, I think that the Diamondbacks they stood out. They capitalized on opportunities, like you said. They played really clean baseball. They got contributions up and down the lineup. We talked about that earlier. So I think that they played as good of team baseball as they could, and the bullpen was fantastic. And they picked up the fact that They knew Mitch Bratt wasn't going to be able to get super deep into the game in the finale. Didn't matter. They pitched six scoreless innings there. So I think that they deserve a ton of credit in all facets of the game over the weekend.
Yeah, Tim Tall was so explosive in that series.
Yeah, I mean, what more could you ask from a guy, right? You're
Yeah,
looking for somebody to step up at first base. He comes in, delivers. I think he was 7 for 13, couple of home runs.
4 extra base
Um,
hits.
he made some good plays at first base as
Yeah,
well. He's a capable guy over there. He can really play any position. And I think that they did him a bit of a disservice at the beginning of the season where, they were like, well, be ready. You could play outfield, you could play anywhere in the infield. And that's great to have that positional versatility. But there's also something to be said about knowing where you're going to be playing each and every day and getting those opportunities and those reps and practice to make sure you're ready for one specific role or one specific part of the game. And so now he's getting some run at first base. And until they make a roster move, if they make a roster move or a trade of some sort, it looks like it's going to be Tim Tawa who's king of the court right now.
yeah. That's all the questions I have for you. Do you have anything for me by chance?
You going to hit some games here in the second half?
I think so. It's been tough this year with my dad's work. He got a new job, but I think we're gonna go to a few.
I'm looking forward to seeing you at the ballpark, man. I think it's going to be a fun second half. These
Yeah.
next couple of weeks are kind of do or die, right? Like this is
Hmm.
when teams decide who they're going to be for the final 2 months of the season. And then it's August just really feels like crunch time to me. Like
Yeah.
it's when things get really nitty gritty. And then September, it's go time. It's full go once you hit September 1. So I'm really looking forward to the next 2.5 months.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, man, definitely. Hey, thanks for the invitation. I always appreciate it, man.
No problem. I appreciate you sitting down with me. You're super cool to me, so thank you.
Yeah, dude, anytime. You know it.